Why, hello there. Today is day 626 of watching the Elden Ring trailer, and it's been 626 days since it first showed up at E3 2019. How are y'all doing tonight? Yeah, with the day thing, it depends where you are in the world, I guess, a little bit. But yeah, but I hope y'all are comfortable, relaxing. I have a meeting tomorrow, so I thought it would be fun to get out some nerves. A big client meeting at work, so I thought it'd be fun to hang out, do a live one. Hello, Zelda here. Hello, Amalvaro, Kurosaki, Jacob, Kiwi, Alan, Arcanium. Nice to see all of you. Nice. I'm international. I know the hours aren't great for some people across the pond. My time is EST, so um, yeah, it can be a bit of a challenge. But yeah. So who's excited for State of Play tomorrow? I mean, I don't think Elden Ring will be there. There's I guess who knows a little bit, but I don't think it will be there. But I'm still excited to see State of Play. Usually, Sony does a pretty good job, even though this seems pretty sedate. There's not. I'm not. I don't really have big expectations for it. So, but yeah, there's still I'll be curious to see what it's I'm not really sure what to expect because I don't know if we'll see like God of War or I think some Horizon stuff. I'm not exactly sure, but I'm still maybe I might not tune in live. It'll kind of depend on what's going on, but yeah. Yeah, sorry, Richard, for making it late for your daily ritual. I know it's important to me, and it's a bummer when I do it late. But during the day, I have kids and stuff running around, and as it is, I could always have my stream busted down by a 4-year-old. So, hello, Isaac. Nice to see everyone. So, yeah, I don't have anything big planned. Just a little chilling out. I'm excited for tomorrow. I have a guest who I've already recorded it actually. I have JSF coming on, Richard Pilbeam, who does if a ton of like Bloodborne stuff, and he does stuff on the Sinclair Lore YouTube channel. So look forward to that tomorrow. It's actually my longest video to date. We talk a long time about Elden Ring and just thoughts about the Souls series and everything. So I'm looking forward to you guys getting to see that. So I think that'll be a lot of fun. So yeah, definitely there's definitely some good stuff in there. Just chatting about lore and story and just sort of our personal interests and sort of what we hope to see. So hello, painful discourse. Yeah. Richie's episodes on Bonfire Side Chat are really good, and as I mentioned on the episode a few days ago, big shout out to Bonfire Side Chat. They were huge in me getting into the Souls games back in the day. Them and Twin Humanities, who are no longer doing stuff, but listening to their podcast was a huge thing for me. And Bonfire Side Chat is still going right now. They just covered. I know they did Eternal Ring recently, and they've been covering a few Souls likes. They're not public anymore. They have a Patreon, so in order to listen to Bonfire Side Chat, you do need to be part of their Patreon. But if you haven't checked out the duckfeed.tv podcast, they're really thoughtful guys, and they do a lot of really good discussions about games in general. So it's worth checking out if you're a Souls fan for sure, and then if you're a video games fan, they have a lot of good stuff. So I love plugging community people whenever I get a chance, and you guys had a lot of good suggestions on that episode. So, but yeah, you're feeling good about March in general, Divine Cafe. It's really up in the air. I saw yesterday. I think yesterday there was like a Reddit post where someone had shown the episode where I said I was feeling sunny about Elden Ring, and I felt bad because I don't want to be considered an insider for anything. I might talk with Omnipotent, but it's always very friendly, and I don't think we'd be friends if I was always pushing him for information. But yeah, I'm still Team April just because April is about as late as I could imagine them announcing something and still having it come out this year, and I'd really like it to come out this year. So I don't have complicated reasoning. It's just sort of it's sort of what I would prefer. So I mean, if we see something at like E3 June time, it's for sure I would say a 2022 title at that point. So, but yeah, but it's the year is moving fast. So like regardless, it's pretty crazy to imagine that there's a good chance in the next couple months we'll get information, and we've been waiting so long now that it'll be good either way. There's not that much time. Oh yes, Don't Give Up Skeletons, another really fun show. It's not running anymore, but Jeremy Greer does great stuff, and I think that's all still up there. And I actually think Jeremy will be on the show soon. We've been buddies since Dark Souls 2, and I think I'm going to have him on in the near future to just chat about Elden Ring and what he's looking forward to. So don't jinx it. It's true. I have a feeling Elden Ring is very shy, and if you talk too much about it, it'll be scared away. In which case, I've scared it away for quite a while because I've spent an inordinate amount of time talking about Elden Ring at this point. But yeah, so as far as weapons, it'll really depend to see what the mechanics are. But I'm a strength build guy. I'm a simple man. See a big sword, I pick it up. So it'll really depend. And I think I may have mentioned it a couple times, but if they have any sort of stealth mechanics, that would be the biggest thing that might change me from going towards like a quality or a strength build. Whatever the equivalent of that is in Elden Ring, just because I do really like being stealthy too, and especially if they have like sneak attacks or anything like that, that would be really hard to sort of pass up. But the interesting thing about just imagining, and I wonder if any of you guys felt this way with Sekiro, but like Sekiro to me feels like two different games. You're like out in the world and you're sneaking around, being a cool shinobi, dropping in on people, using your tools. And then the boss fights, you're a samurai and you're straight up dueling. And I don't think that sort of modal gameplay is a bad thing. The fact that you're sort of in one mode and then the other. But when you're thinking of like a big RPG, the thing that discourages me from being like a thief or something when I think about Elden Ring is if the bosses don't really support, if say there's a system where I'm putting points, experience, whatever into things that are purely for being like stealthy, if that's a system, then, I would be, I don't want to be like suboptimal, I guess, going to bosses, which is, kind of, annoying. I just like something that sort of works any time. So, but yeah, so that it'll be interesting to see. But I would love for there to be some sort of stealth in Elden Ring, even if it's like a stealth, like like a light system, on the scale of Sekiro, just a little bit more developed than Souls. I think would be kind of interesting. So, and another thing to consider is just that I have no clue what sort of stuff could be appealing for when you're on horseback. Like, when I'm thinking of a thief and stuff, I'm not thinking about the fact that you'd be on a horse, because if they have things developed to really make doing stuff on horse appealing, I assume a lot of the bosses, there will be plenty of bosses that are like not on a horse, and you'll be probably in like a dungeon, and then you'll get to a boss and you'll be on foot during all of that. But I assume that they'll have some bosses like out in the world or stuff that you do on horseback. So yeah, doing stuff with a halberd would be amazing. I can't help but think of like just some sort of, riding some people down and just like, harassing like a caravan of people or something like that. Sounds like a lot of fun. So I think I had a lot of fun doing that sort of thing in like Ghost of Tsushima, just, coming out of the woods and just attacking a group of people with prisoners or whatever. And I hope there's something similar like that in Elden Ring. So yeah, yeah, I'm feeling pretty positive about a reveal before E3 also. And it's really a guessing game, and I've talked with plenty of people and I've spoken on various episodes about it, but I don't think they're gonna like do like a shadow drop sort of thing. They're not gonna like do like a it's out in 2 months sort of thing. But some people think, oh, we've waited so long, why they could just give us like 4 months and they'd be fine. But my sort of I think that Bamco and From are kind of traditional, and I think that I don't really see them going less than like 6 months. Even if it's been a while, I think they're going to want to get the word out about George R. R. Martin and hit a more mainstream audience. And that'll just take time. And I think people outside of sort of our community, like, they heard about Elden Ring once a while ago. And even though this community really hypes it up and it gets stuff like most anticipated, I still think they need time to sort of get the information out and get it into people's heads and sort of sell people on the game, because I imagine that they're trying to rope in a wider audience with stuff like George R. R. Martin and just like the open world. Those are much more those are easier sells than I think they've had for their games in the past. So it'll be interesting though to see sort of how that all plays out. And here, let me move this. My camera's in the way of chat. Yeah, you know what? It's Isaac says they could release very quickly after reveal, and who knows? Like, I've run through this in my head many times, and there's arguments for all of it. It really depends on what Bamco wants to do, and I don't know enough about marketing to really know like what the current sort of trends are. So, Richard, sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Do you think there's a chance they'll have their own event? I think Bamco could do an event. They may not be strictly Elden Ring, but I could see Bamco doing an event. And I think I heard just some like slight rumors, but who knows? But Bamco, they could host their own thing. Doing digital stuff is so common now, and I feel like companies are doing it more because of the last year, and like they just kind of need to learn how to host an online digital thing, and I think they have the capabilities to do it for sure. So yeah, and the scale of the map, I have no clue. I saw an interesting thing today that was talking about like the size of various maps. And like Skyrim, for instance, is like way smaller than like The Witcher 3. And I didn't think there would be, like it feels larger, but like it really, seeing these different sizes made me realize it really is about like what's in the world. Like pure square footage is not really like, doesn't define it. Yeah, it needs to be large enough for horse travel. So it's going to be an open world. I'm sure you're going to see the thing where there's a valley stuff on the other side. Like you're going to see stuff pretty far in the distance. And you'll need that to justify horse travel, but like the density of the map, I think, is huge. And there's been a lot of questions with people about like, that it's one of those things where I don't know the balance between, like Miyazaki mentioned, dungeons and open world. And, because we don't have a whole lot of new information, we've harped on that like a million times at this point. And I don't know someone mentioned in a comment, like, a dungeon could be the size of like the undead settlement. And, I don't know. It really depends. And I don't know. Hopefully I personally hope the world isn't just like an interstitial space between dungeons. And I don't think it will be. I think it will be, because if they're developing this whole horse combat system, they're going to want to give you plenty of reason to use it. So I don't think it's going to be like a Shadow of the Colossus thing, in the sense that you're not just like using the open world to get between the interesting stuff. The open world is going to be part of the interesting stuff. And my personal opinion is that the dungeons will be like, I have no clue how many there would be, but I imagine there'll be plenty, but that the balance between being in a dungeon and being in the open world would maybe be like 75%. I don't know, in the open world, 25% in like a dungeon. Just total guess. But I just think if they're going to do stuff like develop horse combat and, they're developing this whole new system, they're not going to want the majority of the game for you to be still doing like what could feel very much like Dark Souls stuff. They want you to engage with the day night cycle and like those roaming enemies and the AI. There just seems like there's so much they're interested in that would be centered around being out in the open world. So it'd be interesting. But yeah, Breath of the Wild is, obviously it's like one of the best games to come out in this last generation. So it is there's some very good open world examples between Breath of the Wild, Witcher 3, and I think From is going to do their own thing, honestly. I think they just have their own way of doing things, and I think they're going to have a unique approach. Yeah, Benjamin Roach, he talked about a few things. Yeah, he's interesting, but Richard says the level design and the open world design were separate teams. I could totally see that. Oh, congratulations, Lawrence! That the ending is so good. It is very fun, and it's a I'm not really in the camp that really wants it to be like Breath of the Wild in the sense that like I don't really think you're going to be climbing everywhere. I think Breath of the Wild is definitely doing its own thing, where it's very much focused on, weapons that will break and the durability. Those are all huge factors into how you play that game. And I think Elden Ring is going to be much more RPG heavy, is my own sort of assumption. So, yeah. And I agree, like Zelda here. I just think I almost want to go to the point of saying, like, From is incapable of just, like, grabbing a trend and copying. And I've been diving a lot into the history of From Software lately, and this comes up in the discussion that will be coming out tomorrow with Richard Pilbeam. And it's just that From Software has essentially been doing the same thing for like 25 years. If you play the Kingsfield games, it is very much the world design and the level design is very Soulsy. Like, so, Souls is really borrowing a lot from Kingsfield when it comes to their level design with shortcuts and the interconnectivity. They've been doing that since long before they were like, out with Souls. So this is going to be a huge change for them. They're really giving away a lot of control, I want to say, just to the extent that they've always been very big about setting up a certain vista or setting up a certain approach. So you have to deal with enemies from a certain vantage point, and this time they're really giving you, it's a lot more open. We saw them play with that more in Sekiro, but Elden Ring it'll really mix things up. So let's see what else. As far as the futuristic Xbox exclusive, that rumor, I am not sure, honestly. I believe they're working on like a mech game. I don't know much about it. I don't know why it was announced. Like Miyazaki talked about it like back in like, I can't remember, it's like 2016, maybe even earlier. And we've heard nothing since. So I don't know what's going on with that, but at least at one point, it seems like they were working on a mech game, and it could be, I could see Microsoft doing something, and yeah, that would make me buy an Xbox Series S or X. So let's see what else. Yeah, that is my thought. Always, Mike, is that when you're going around in the open world, I don't know exactly how to work with your horse. People have brought up the pretty clever point that maybe your horse could be something of a bonfire. I think there's things with that could be a little funky, but I do think either way that when you get to a dungeon, it's going to force you to get off of your horse, and you're going to be doing the normal thing. So like, and then my thought with that is I think the dungeons will be very shortcut heavy and really go back to that. So like when you're done with the dungeon, you can get back to your horse. But it really depends on like, there's a few things about the horse that are curious. Like, is there like, can you just summon it with whistle? Like lore wise, are they just going to explain it? Like, I almost wondered if it's going to be like some sort of like spirit horse thing. Who knows? But like, I'll just be curious to see, because FromSoft usually likes to kind of explain mechanics And I'd be curious to see what lengths they go to explain the horse, because a lot of games just say, oh, you can just whistle for a horse. It doesn't matter where you tied them up. Where they were before, they can kind of show up. But for some reason, I feel like FromSoft will make that do something. Yeah, exactly. Like Lord of the Rings, like with Moria. I think, I may be hitting the Lord of the Rings comparisons too hard, and that's probably just my own personal preference. But I do think, yeah, that's a good example. Like you can't bring a horse into Moria, but hopefully you can get your horse back after. Which I don't. They're not going to take the horse away from you when you're going back out into the world. But yeah. For Breath of the Wild, it is the shrines. I think a lot of people, myself, I liked them as like physics puzzles, but luckily with the Souls game, it's probably combat dungeons. So underwater swimming, I really think there's not going to be like swimming or climbing in Elden Ring, just because you could be a dude in heavy armor. You could be like a stealthy shinobi, a mage, stuff like that, I'm assuming. So I think they're leaning away from things that wouldn't make sense to do wearing very heavy armor. And yeah, that's one of my favorite things, A44C, is how From is very interested in explaining their mechanics. Like they take the artificiality of the game and make it feel grounded by providing mechanics, like just everything with the bonfires, the lengths that they go to explain that is a huge part of Dark Souls. So I really do look forward to them explaining that, even though they did have some of that stuff. I feel like Bloodborne, they had the dream and everything, but they started to maybe have a few things where you were used to the series. But I think with Elden Ring and being a fresh world, they're going to take good pains to explain why you come back to life. I think they'll have explanations for all of that, just because that's something they seem to like to do. So, does the horse die in the end? I could totally see From Software killing your horse at the end, and that would make me cry. That would make me sad. I'm sure I will get attached, especially if you can like name your horse or something, or you get any backstory or characterization. You're gonna have that buddy with you for so many hours. So I could see them doing that though. But yeah, who knows? Divine Confetti. It's for some reason I'm just like it's gonna be some like weird spirit horse or something, because that would be the easiest way to explain how you could like summon one to you. I could see it being something of like an item that you can get, or to get it over to you. So we'll have to see. Let's see. There's been word that Elden Ring may not release until 2022 or 2023. I don't think 2023. That would be terrible. 2022, spring 2022, I could see. But you get to a certain point where even if it is a cross-gen game, and cross-gen makes a lot more sense, this is a last-gen game that I'm assuming is going to get sort of an upgrade patch at the most, and they're not going to want to release something like 2022 early. I could see if they need to, but 2023 or further, no, they're not going to want to. They're not going to do that, and I really think they're probably pushing for this year. So I don't. I'm hopeful for this year. I just feel like that's what I've heard people continue to sort of say, and things could change very quickly with that. But I really think 2021 is what they're trying really hard to do. So yeah, climbing could be counteractive from his formula, but a ledge grab, crawling, some of that stuff would be really awesome. I think that could be really cool ways to do shortcuts and stuff. But it all depends on the armor, and how they would make you do that stuff. Amilvara says, especially with George R. R. Martin, everyone dies, and with George R. R. Martin doing the mythology, he's probably not going to be too much into the individual characters of the narrative. But yeah, we have a lot of people working here between Miyazaki and Martin. I don't think it's going to be like it's going to end well for anyone. So let's see. Yeah, an open world wouldn't like progression barred by a 2 foot high ledge. And Omni has said that he thinks that there is a dedicated jump button, and I think that would literally just be ease of use in the world. Maybe tie a little bit into combat, maybe ties into your horse a little bit. But I think they have to design intentional barriers, and they may to sort of bottleneck you into regions that you have to like beat a dungeon or something to progress. But yeah, I think that's part of the reason is because they're not going to have hopefully silly stuff like small barriers just because it doesn't make as much sense. So let's see. I wonder if the horses will have names. Yeah, name your horse Ludwig. That is very good. Yeah, yeah. It's as far as the Peggy rating goes. Like I talked with Mordecai about that, and he did like a little deep dive into research. And the Peggy thing, it's like non-news. It's been around. It all depended on the version and stuff. So I wouldn't get too excited about the Peggy rating, but there's been enough stirring and people getting excited that we'll be seeing stuff in the next few months. I personally think before E3, but time will tell. I hope they'll still have their weird and dark spin on high fantasy and not have it too bright and colorful. Really enjoy the Lovecraftian elements. I think they definitely will, because it's interesting. Omni talked about how this may be a brighter game, sort of on, maybe I've been saying like on the Sekiro range, where there are some nice dashes of color, but then the Chinese concept art and all the other things we've seen are super dark. Like the game looks very dark in its tone. So if there's color there, it will work to contrast that. And with Sekiro, it was a very pretty game and has some of their prettiest areas. And then you get weird things like the centipedes and stuff, and it would be really creepy. But there wasn't quite enough of that for me. I'm a big fantasy guy, so I want the weirder enemies. And I think if they're pushing that of having sort of these pretty environments and these sort of prettier colors, contrast that with some really dark shit, I think that's my jam right there. And as far as Lovecraftian stuff, they've always had Lovecraftian hints, and I would love that. It seems like there's plenty of opportunity for like body horror, so I'm really thinking it'll be hitting on all cylinders for that. Skeleton says, I wonder if there will be a skill tree, and I could totally see something along those lines. I don't know if it would be specific to weapons or your character or how it play, but they did play with that a bit in Sekiro, and be interesting to see if they do something like that to give your builds more variety. So yeah, I'm Isaac Gonzalez says thinks it'll be the best game you've ever played. I'm really hoping so. I think that this could be bringing together a lot of cool stuff. I think there is obviously going to be people who don't like it for whatever reason. They have to make some decisions. And there will be some people who don't jive with it. But if the lore hits and it's not too obscure, but there's enough puzzle pieces to put together, I'll be all over it. I'll be very happy. And as long as the combat's not garbage, but I won't disrespect From by imagining a world where they have bad combat. All they have to do is reuse Dark Souls 3 and they're already like doing pretty well. So they expand on that, and I don't think I will be disappointed. So yeah, I have seen Bamco reworking their website and doing little things, and they do update things, but they've been changing more. So I do think that they're sort of gearing up. So I think they're starting to get ready. Yeah, George R. R. Martin only wrote he basically provided like a source book, the mythology, and then From Software is doing the actual narrative of the events of the game, and it's set in the world that George R. R. Martin, helped create the mythology of, and I assume that means he had hands in locations to some degree and just major elements in the world, but the actual story is all From Software. And, he may have helped to develop some characters in the sense that, a lot of those characters in the announcement trailer we've seen are most likely, that's the opening cutscene. They'll most likely show up again. So he will have had some role in, I assume, helping to develop at least the basis of those characters as far as it applies to the mythology. So, Yeah. I didn't realize that. Yeah, I knew that Bandai Namco Brazil is doing a few. They're being a little cheeky, and I have no clue what that means exactly. But I do think that they're between the websites starting to get some little updates and stuff. I think that means that they're gearing up. I don't think that necessarily means something's. I don't think something's coming tomorrow, but I think that they're gearing up for the next few months at the very least. Yeah, Omni. Yeah, that's a good point. Painful discourse. Omni is a consultant, and or George R. R. Martin is a consultant. I think I said Omni there. George R. R. Martin is a consultant, and his work was done years ago. And I joke with Richard on the episode tomorrow, so you'll see that. Like, I bet George R. R. Martin doesn't even remember all the stuff he wrote for the game at this point. His role was over years ago. So yeah, I do think 2021 is really the year that they're looking for, because if they were supposedly going to release something at like Q like 3 or 4 2020, and if they were delayed a year, you're just looking at Q3 4 2021. So as long as we hear something in the next 6 to 8 weeks, I think that's very possible. If they're giving any time, if they're doing a really quick marketing turnaround, we have time. And I guess that's part of the frustrating thing. I really just want a release date. If I could get anything, just give me the release date. Everything else is gravy, but it's just like great details. But I really just want a release date, and then I'll know how long I need to wait, and everything else is just fun content to talk about and chat until the game comes out. But as long as I know when it comes out, I'm all set. So I hope the next trailer has a release date, and I'll take like a fall or a spring with the year, but I would love an actual date. That would be wonderful. Yeah, I do wonder if they will pull George R. R. Martin into marketing at all. They may a little bit. I doubt that that would. I don't know if that would be something he would love, but I could see them getting him in just a little bit, just to sort of talk about it. I can't remember, one of the Bamco sites, they have a really cheesy quote from him where it's like, yes, video game, I enjoyed it. Like working on it, like just like really generic stuff. So, because George R. R. Martin, I think, there's that video, like video games aren't his thing. He's worried about getting sucked into them, and he's tried it a little bit, but, I think he's more of a football fan and a book reader. So, yeah, they need to like really show a lot with this open world, with the trailer. And really I think they're going to have a hard time getting everything in. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. Hey, Mordecai. Yeah, George R. R. Martin, he's already beaten the game. He's because that means if he can kill more people, that's right up his alley. So, yeah, anything to not work on the Winds of Winter. Yeah, that is a fair point. If it means that George R. R. Martin doesn't have to do any more Song of Ice and Fire, that's probably the first thing he's going to do. So he probably booked a flight out to Japan. So he's like, well, how much time will that buy me? Like 4 weeks or something. So, but yeah, I think with that, let's get into the trailer, and let's see this time if I can play it with sound on the first try. I think we'll be good. I've worked out my setup a little bit, but let's watch this trailer. Yeah, I gotta catch one of your streams, Mord. I keep missing them, but I wanna see Mordecai play some video games. Ooh, I want to hear an accordion version of the music in this trailer.
you could even imagine it.
This dude, I can't wait to see him in game. He's so weird.
That which commanded the stars, giving life its fullest brilliance. The Elden Ring. Oh, Elden Ring.
How those Richard and I talk quite a bit in the episode tomorrow about the blacksmith characters.
Or something. Don't tell me you don't see it. Look up at the sky. It burns.
Skeleton. I could only hope. I want as much of that guy's voice as I can. It's a wonderful VO. Here we go. Day 626 of watching this freaking trailer. Still as good as the first day. Music still slaps. I do like the spear guy in the trailer. He is very cool. Even though I think he is less likely to be like a named character, and I think he's a stand-in for a whole bunch of dudes, which just means we get to go fight and kill more of them. So I'll take that. And Richard Pilbeam and I on the episode tomorrow, we have a good discussion about that battlefield and about Richard has a theory about all the fallen knights around the giant dude, the big lad on the field. So so definitely tune into that. It's a long ass episode tomorrow. I almost broke it into two. It's almost 90 minutes of talking about Elden Ring. No new information, but we're just lore nerds, and we're just geeking out with each other. But I know, almost 2 years. But yeah, so yeah, the game soundtrack. I was just doing a little comparison today. I was like, if I had to guess, I would say Kitamura was the person to do this track if it's one of the people we know. And, because I was listening, and Sakuraba, he did stuff like, he did tons of music in the series, but he does do like the sedate, like Majula theme better. He does like the Flexile Sentry. I was just listening to those today. Whereas like Kitamura has like the big bombastic themes, and I think this feels more like her. I also hope that Saito gets, I hope Saito is involved in more than just like sound design, but if not, then he does great work on sound design too. But I do love Saito's music, and I would dig if Saito got to do more stuff. But the music is so promising right now between the trailer and the logo, animated logo music. It's so good, but we'll see. I hope there's a variety, but I also hope there's tons of horns and drums. I love a good trumpet. But thanks everyone for coming for day 626, and tune in tomorrow, as I mentioned, 627. I'm talking with JSF. We'll see what tomorrow brings. I'm assuming nothing as far as Elden Ring is concerned, but thanks everyone for coming in. It's been another great chat. I hope to do one of these again sometime in the near future, maybe do one earlier so we can get some of our more European friends here. But thank you all for joining me tonight, and tune in tomorrow.